Hey friends, it's me, your girl, Kristen Denise, also known as Katie, and I'm here with day 20 of Black History Month. Now, before we jump into day 20, let me tell you something. It's real late. You see these bags under my eyes. Your girl is tired. It's been a day. The day has been a day. And while this is day 20 of Black History Month, I'm not going to post this till Friday morning, which is going to technically be day 21, but we'll be fine. It's late. I'm going to just have to do it tomorrow, but I was committed. I'm still recording today, and you still going to have over 28 people by the time we all said and done. So thank you for your patience, and thank you for your kindness. All right, now let's jump in. We're going to talk about another amazing, dope Black woman today when we talk about Black History Month. And this is a name we really should know based on all the work that she did. But she was about being grassroots, getting it done, and not seeking out the spotlight. So we don't know a lot about her. And I'm really shocked, though, because of the movement she participated in. I feel like I really should know more about her. But I'm learning about her right now with y'all, too. We in this together, okay? So this person is Diane Nash, and she was super duper dope and very critical in the civil rights movement. She's considered one of the architects of the civil rights movement because she played such a pivotal role in so many key and groundbreaking things. She was one of the most critical yet often overlooked leaders in the civil rights movement as a college student in the 1960s. But she did become a key strategist, organizer, and leader in some of the most pivotal civil rights campaigns, to include, right, she played a foundational role in the Nashville sit-ins in the 1960s, the Freedom Rides of 1961, the Selma Voting Rights Movement of 1965, and the founding of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. So again, she never really sought the spotlight, but her strategic genius, her courage, and her leadership were essential to the movement's success. Y'all have to work with me. I told you it's late. My tongue is a little lazy because it's late. She was an unstoppable force, challenging racism in the Jim Crow South and inspiring young people, women, and grassroots activists to take action. Her life is a blueprint for grassroots activism, teaching us that real change is built through organizing, persistence, and fearless leadership, of which she had in abundance. So she was born in Chicago, Illinois, and really did not begin. Initially went to college at Howard University before transferring to Fisk in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was at that point where she transferred in 1959 that she began to see the true brutality of segregation in the Deep South. And it was at that point she was like, oh, we got to do something different. And so her experience at Fisk is absolutely considered a turning point, and seeing whites-only lunch counters, segregated buses, and racist laws made her realize that change was absolutely necessary and that young people like her had the power to make it happen. So let's jump into her contributions, right? She was a key contributor to the Nashville sit-in. She became a leader in the Nashville sit-in movement, which was one of the first successful student-led direct action campaigns against segregation. It was modeled on the students in Greensboro, North Carolina's lunch counter sit-ins. They were trained in nonviolent resistance with the help of Reverend James Lawson, who had studied under Gandhi in India. They staged sit-ins at segregated lunch counters in Nashville, peacefully demanding service. When white mobs attacked them, spat on them, beat them, the whole nine, they remained nonviolent. So they were actually arrested and sent to trial, but instead of paying the bail, they chose to go to jail to highlight the injustice. In court, when a judge asked Nash if she understood she had broken the law, she famously responded, "Yes, we understand that, but we also understand that we have a moral obligation to disobey unjust laws." Let them know, sis. The results? Victory. After months of protests, Nashville became the first major southern city to desegregate its lunch counters in May of 1960. The success of the sit-ins proved that nonviolent protests could work, inspiring hundreds of sit-ins across the South. She was a co-founder of SNCC in 1966, which was highlighting the power of youth activism at the time. SNCC became one of the most important organizations in the civil rights movement because it empowered young activists to lead their own movements instead of waiting for older leaders to take charge. Nash believed that young people had the creativity, the courage, and the energy to transform society. And SNCC would later lead the Freedom Rides, voter registration drives, and the Selma Voting Rights Movement. Again, she helped to lead the Freedom Rides. During Freedom Summer, they were organized to test a Supreme Court ruling that banned segregation on interstate buses. Nash helped to plan and recruit riders when the first Freedom Rides, organized by CORE, were attacked by mobs and jailed in Alabama. When original riders dropped out due to violence, Nash refused to let the movement die and organized a new wave of riders. She told volunteers, "If you are not prepared to die, do not get on this bus." That's one heck of a statement. Riders were beaten, jailed, and nearly killed, but Nash's leadership forced the federal government to step in and desegregate interstate travel. The Freedom Rides led to the Interstate Commerce Commission enforcing desegregation laws across the United States. Sis is that girl. She also participated in the Selma and voting rights movement, securing the right to vote. She played a key role in organizing voter registration drives in the Deep South. She worked alongside Dr. King and other leaders in Selma, Alabama, where Black citizens were denied the right to vote through literacy tests, intimidation, and violence. Her efforts led to the Selma to Montgomery March and the eventual passing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Voting Rights Act is what was passed to ban discriminatory voting laws, making it one of the biggest legislative victories of the civil rights movement. Nash was so effective that even the president at the time, John F. Kennedy, and Attorney General Robert Kennedy saw her as a threat. In a secret FBI report, Nash was labeled as a dangerous radical. She rejected offers to slow down or soften her activism in exchange for government approval. She believed that justice should never, ever be delayed, and she stood firm against political pressure. Unlike many of the male leaders, she did not seek out fame, which is why her role is often overlooked. They often tried to sideline women in the movement, but Nash refused to let her voice be silenced. Basically, you ain't got to know my name, but you're going to hear my voice. She faced death threats, beatings, and imprisonment, but she never backed down. She continued to fight for civil rights, women's rights, and anti-war activism long after the 1960s. She also taught future generations about the importance of nonviolent resistance and grassroots organizing. In 2011, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian honor in the United States. So what are some things we can learn about Diane Nash? Leadership is about strategy, not ego. Nash didn't care about fame. She cared about results. She led from behind the scenes, proving that impact matters more than attention. We got to focus on real change and not just online activism, and be strategic, organized, and persistent in any movement that we choose to be a part of. Young people absolutely can lead revolutions. Nash was just 21 years old when she led the Nashville sit-ins and helped to co-found SNCC. She showed that students and young activists could drive major social change. If you see injustice, don't wait for somebody else, in particular older people, if you're a younger person, to fix it. Get involved and lead change for yourself. Join or support grassroots organizations that are fighting for justice in your community or globally. Change requires sacrifice and resilience. Nash faced jail time, death threats, and violence, but she never backed down. Diane understood that real justice comes with risk and persistence. Don't be afraid to stand up for what's right, even when it's unpopular. Y'all, we're going to have to do a lot of that moving forward. I hope you know that. Stay committed to causes, even when the progress is slow. Diane Nash was clearly one of the most brilliant minds of the civil rights movement, yet her story is often left out of history books. Her legacy does teach us, though, that movements need strategy, not just passion. Young people can absolutely lead and change history, and justice requires persistence, courage, and sacrifice. Freedom, by definition, is people realizing that they are their own leaders. Thank you, Miss Diane Nash. Now, hear me out. Seriously, y'all. The way our current government is going, all of the things that are taking place, the laws that are being passed, particularly in realms of like education, dealing with DEI, dealing with anything that they consider race-based, we gonna have to stand up to some injustices, and we're gonna have to do what's right, and we're gonna have to take the stand that Diane took when she was questioned by the judge. Like, yeah, I know it's a law, but it is my duty to not follow an unjust law. So, ready to fight? If not, get ready to fight. And again, it's in whatever battle matters to you. You don't have to stand on the picket lines. You don't have to be on everybody's front lines. You don't have to be all online with it, but you do need to take a stance, and you do need to make sure that you are standing for justice. Because if we haven't learned anything else from our civil rights heroes and our Black history leaders, it's that an average everyday person can make monumental change. And I stand here as an average everyday person committed to making monumental change in the fields of interest that speak to my heart, that are attached to my purpose, and where I know I've been called for such a time as this. Where are you being called, my love? Now, in all of this, remember, do what you need to do to be more than okay, because you deserve to be more than okay, and absolutely do what you need to do to live a life you love, because you deserve to live a life you love. But a part of doing what you need to do to be more than okay and living a life you love probably means you're going to have to do something to change what's happening around you, so you get less resistance to making it happen. All right. I love you, baby. Make it a good one.